Hello, Lynette here. We honored on the 7th the 77th anniversary of the bombing of Pearl Harbor. And I don't know if it made other people reflect on any parts of the Second World War. I'm a kind of a Second World War buff, big Winston Churchill fan. So it made me kind of think about it. Putting it in perspective of what's going on in our world today, we don't have millions of people dying because of war for one cause or another. But we do have a war of sorts going on, and that is the fascist attempted takeover by the liberals. They love to use this word fascist for Trump supporters and for anybody who is pro-immigrate or anti-immigration. Anybody who has any sensible ideas or wants to have a conversation about something is called a fascist, just period, which is the very playbook of fascism. We have to do something about this. We have to start speaking out against these people that scream at us and call us Nazis and fascists, and because they have no idea what they're talking about. They don't even know what the word means. I went to I have a dictionary that I use, which is in 1922, so it's trifle out of date. And all it said about fascism was that it was a new thought process that was being promulgated by a man named Benito Mussolini in Italy. And so that wasn't very helpful. And then if you go to Wikipedia, of course, it's all right-wing, nationalistic, all these words that they use against the right now. And then rabbit hole, rabbit hole, rabbit hole. Somebody's comment on a conversation stated that you have to find a dictionary that's written before 1986, because after that point, then it became this whole right-wing thing, which is very interesting, isn't it? What they're trying to do is quash our freedom of speech and censor us. The censorship issue has just snowballed. A year ago, people were muttering about it, and now it's somebody else got deplatformed on YouTube. Somebody else got their Facebook page completely wiped out. Somebody else got taken off of Twitter. When they do these things, a lot of times they'll take all that information and they'll just like steal it. So that people's Facebook pages can just disappear, and all of that information and contact you have with people is gone unless you saved it to the cloud. But who knows when the cloud decides that they're not going to do that for you if they don't like you. There were 3 other big YouTubers that were taken off of, they can't use Patreon anymore to make, take their payments. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to strangle free speech. And this is the very essence of fascism. They just don't have a clue. There was an article I read, the New Yorker magazine had a festival, New Yorker Festival in October, and they had asked Steve Bannon to be one of the lead speakers. And I think it was like a symposium to have authors and writers and, journalists speak. Now, I want to say, I was a huge New Yorker fan 20 years ago. Loved the magazine. And I believe, even though I was a liberal who was deluded at the time, I believe it was a good publication. And you could argue that with me, and I'd believe you. But I read things from both sides of the aisle. I read things from all over the world. It was just a fascinating magazine. And I know in the last at least 5 years, it is just a mouthpiece for the left. They bash Trump. They write things that aren't true. They spout memes that are just garbage, just like, CNN. They're just trash. But their editor, David Remnick, don't get me going. He asked Steve Bannon to speak, and people within the New Yorker organization said, "Oh my God, Steve Bannon!" Oh. And had writhing fits on the ground because they might hear something that they didn't like, or maybe one of their friends would know that they had listened to him. So David Remnick canceled, said, "No, I'm sorry, Steve Bannon, your services aren't wanted here," because he was afraid of backlash. And the little things that they say is, "Oh, we got to be inclusive and blah, blah, blah." It's just called cowardice. There's no other word for it. It's just sheer cowardice and lack of balls. Thoroughly disgusting. Another little thing I heard last week that was kind of in the same order was the Massachusetts church that put up a creche with pretty life-size figures of Mary, Jesus, the wise men, animals, baby Jesus in his little basket of hay, and around baby Jesus was a metal dog kennel, a cage. And this is the left's way of saying, you people that believe that immigration should be carefully monitored are evil. And of course, the worst part of this is that it was Obama who put children in these supposed cages, not Trump. And they're just stupid on top of all their other faults. They just don't have any brains. This is something we have to start speaking out about. We have to start saying, do you know what the definition of fascism is? And I'm going to have you look it up, because I just kind of ran out of resources and didn't find something that I actually wanted to write down that I could present, because there's, like I said, there's so much stuff after 86 that is just absolutely talking about it being right-wing and nationalistic. Since when did right-wing and nationalism become dirty words? You know, it's like calling somebody a pedophile. He's a pedophile. He's a nationalist. It's just really crazy. So two things I did find that were so fascinating was one of the precepts of fascism is contempt for electoral democracy. Let me think. What does that sound like? Oh, and a rule of elites. And that was the thing in the Mussolini years, was that there was a ruling class there. They weren't socialists. They didn't take away and socialize the factories and the utilities and all this kind of stuff, but they had them closely monitored by the government. So there's a difference there. Liberals don't even know that, because they say socialism is good, which socialism isn't good. Socialism is evil. That's what they should be saying, that socialism is evil. So as we look back on our history with what we tried to accomplish with the Second World War, was for these ideologies to be buried under long rolling fields of poppies. I'm mixing a lot of metaphors there. But, you know, make them go away. And now the fascism of the left has reared its ugly head, and I don't know where it's going to stop. But every week there's another censorship thing that comes up, and every week somebody else is fired from something. There was a teacher, so something I want to bring up, a teacher that was fired from, might have been junior high, might have been grade school, I'm not sure, but young kids. And there was a transgender person in his class. I believe it was a girl going to a boy. And the teacher refused to use the pronoun of their choice. And when all was said and done, it's not that he'd used the wrong pronoun. He hadn't used any pronoun. He'd either said, hey, you, or you pointed, or I don't know what they did, but he didn't use a pronoun. And this upset the child, ran home to mommy. Mommy ran home over to the school district, and the school district just completely folded immediately, said, you're gone. No suspension to think about how naughty you were. No conversation about, we really have these guidelines, you need to follow them. Just, you are fired. And that's not fascism. That's called compelled speech. And that is what one of the reasons that we had the American Revolution was so that we had freedom of speech. Not anymore. So, a little something for you to think about as you start your week this week. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment and share. Bye-bye.